Hey guys, it's Hayden here again making another video. So I've had a lot of views and a lot of feedback from some of my videos that I made a while ago about my DMT experience as well as my psychoses. There's been a few comments and questions sort of about those experiences, and I wanted to answer some of them today here. So what I'm going to cover today is basically 5 reasons why I think I had my first psychosis. Looking back, I feel like I understand the situation a little bit better, and I have a better grasp of understanding what events sort of unfolded leading up to that point and what led to the actual break. So we'll go ahead and get right into it with number 1, which is family history. So I don't have like an extensive family history of psychosis or anything like that. It's not something that's necessarily in my immediate family, but my grandmother did have bipolar disorder, and I was not alive to witness that, but I was told that she did have some manic states as well as some depressive states that were pretty intense. So bipolar disorder was in my family. On the other side of my family, I'm not so sure that there was anything related, any dissociative disorders or anything like that. But there was that on my grandmother's side, so it was in my family. So following that, number 2 is my inability to deal with my emotions. So there was a lot that I sort of internalized early in my life that I sort of went through and decided not to really communicate those or to tell other people how I was feeling. I just kind of assumed that it was my fault, and so I would internalize those feelings and blame myself, which resulted a lot of anxiety and depression and things like that, which is really a hard place to be. And so because of all of that suffering and all of that pain that I was going through, that I was sort of inflicting on myself, I tried to figure out a way to fix that. And so that brings me to my 3rd reason, and that is developing an ungrounded worldview and a desire to escape. So I started to basically, because of all that pain and suffering and anxiety and depression and things like that, I started to try to look at the spiritual teachings and things like that for consolation. But unfortunately, instead of actually practicing those teachings, I would blame myself for not being what the teachings said, like the potential state that I could be in was. So, meditation wasn't really meditation. I was basically just sitting there like blaming myself for actually having thoughts. So I would criticize each thought that came through instead of just witnessing the thought. And I was very self-critical overall. And I sort of ascribed to a certain view. One of my first mentors was very into synchronicity and ungrounded stuff, a lot of talking about the dream world and things like that. And that wasn't really like stuff that I was ready for quite yet, because I wasn't really grounded and I was still dealing with a lot of trauma within myself. So I took on this worldview that was kind of dreamy and had this sort of magical element to it. But I didn't really have a way to ground that in and to feel like that was something that was practical or real. It was just kind of a way for me to escape. And that brings me to my 4th reason why this may have happened, and that's my use of cannabis. So I wasn't using cannabis a lot. I would, maybe every once in a while, like I was using it at first, like maybe once a month or so. I was first exposed to it kind of in high school, and then I barely used it. It was maybe like once every 2 months or less. I think my senior year I didn't even use it. But as I was approaching the date where I actually had my psychosis, I was using it more frequently, so like once a week. And I think that was facilitating to some degree the ungrounded worldview, because cannabis doesn't have that grounding element that helps you to sort of ground yourself. It has the tendency to like make you a little bit more floaty and a little bit more airy. I mean, that's just kind of common knowledge as far as I know. So I was using that to help me. I was using it back then because I said I was using it to help me understand my problems, because it puts you like kind of in a dream state so you can like process emotions and things like that. But I think in reality I was just using it because it made me feel a little bit less in pain. And I don't think that was helping my cause, plus the family history component with the bipolar disorder might have been something there too that was affecting that. So with all of those things sort of coming together, with a really ungrounded worldview and the use of cannabis and my family history, the inability for me to process my emotions, so I had it all like bundled up in a package. It's just like, trying to get somewhere, trying to release. There's a lot there. And on top of that, I had the intention of wanting like a really intense experience, like a really intense breakthrough or understanding or spiritual awakening. And so there was this thing that I was like praying for, asking for from the universe to like help me out and like help me see enlightenment or help me to find some kind of nirvana or something like that. So there was also that intention component in there, and I think intention has a huge component as to how things kind of unfold in our lives. And so I guess that might be number 5. So maybe there's 6 reasons. And so with all of those things combined, there came the accumulation point, which most of you probably already know about, which was the DMT. I've heard a lot of people talk a lot about different things regarding the DMT, like involving the guy who gave it to me, as well as the experience itself. I just want to clear it up that guy like wasn't really a friend. He was just a guy I met in the class, like in one of my classes, and I had spoken to him about psychedelics, that I was interested in them, and then he invited me to his house at one point, and then he then gave me DMT without my knowledge. As far as the actual trip went, it's possible that the DMT, like me resisting the DMT, caused the psychosis. That's a possibility, or contributed to it, because I do know that resisting the trip and stuff like that can trigger some things. Unfortunately, I didn't know that this was happening because it was my first psychedelic experience, and you don't really have that much space to be able to process information during that time. You're just kind of experiencing it, and like it just kind of happens. So it wasn't until really afterward that I could think about what happened and realize that it was obviously not pot. But basically what happened, there's a trigger event. So based on what I understand, pretty much every person that's had a psychosis, as far as I know, has a trigger event. The DMT for me was the trigger event. So all the accumulating factors came together. Basically, to sum it up again, it was the family, probably some disposition to psychosis, the inability for me to process my emotions and to manage my stress levels, and for me to find good, healthy coping skills to be able to manage my life a little bit better. The development of an ungrounded worldview and a desire to escape with an intention to find some kind of different state of being or some kind of revelation and understanding. And the use of cannabis, which further ungrounded me and further made me stuck into that sort of different way of thinking, into a psychotic state. And then the actual trigger point, which actually severed the connection between me having a grounded sense of what reality is and what my interpretation of what reality was happened. So, and that was, in this case, the DMT. And I've actually had another psychosis. In that case, it was not DMT. It was another powerful experience, and it wasn't a psychedelic. It was actually a really strong connection with somebody. So maybe someday I'll make a video about that when I'm ready to share that. So if you found this video helpful, I know that other people found some of my other videos helpful. That's kind of why I wanted to make this one. Let me know in the comments below, and then either like or dislike. Either feedback is fine. And if you'd like to see more videos that I've made, you can check out my channel, Informal Inquiry. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you get notifications when I post. And as always, seek your truth and take time for yourself. Also, make sure if you have had a psychotic break, or you're worried about your mental health, to reach out to a medical professional or somebody close to you that you can talk with and help you in whatever way you can. Sometimes we need help, so definitely reach out if you do need help. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in my next video. Bye for now.